Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 106, the podcast where we explore the innatity of pop culture. I am your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And PyroJackFrost.
This week we will be talking about a few board game and card games, any tabletop game, really, that has been inspired by any of our favorite properties, and we're going to explore that a little bit. But I think what really brought up this topic was the new Binding of Isaac card game, which looks hella interesting. So I was really interested, especially in hearing Lotus talk about this and Pyro, because Pyros are like resident board game fiend and a tabletop fiend.
I actually have never heard of the Binding of Isaac card. I mean, I think I just heard of it, but I didn't look up much about it. Because I mean, the game itself, I was never interested in, but I'd be willing to try out the card game because I love games like that. Do either of you know about how the game is supposed to be played?
Not at all. I'm aware that it's being kickstarted, but I don't know anything actually about the game.
I'm going to throw this up in the chat for our podcast here, just so you guys have the link to the Kickstarter, so we could talk about it a little bit. But I'm excited about it because this seems to be like a real passion project for Edmund McMillan, who really wanted to put this out just as a fun thing. And he said he never wants to bring it into digital format. He wants this to be like a social thing that you do with your friends.
And by the way, the numbers will surely change by the time you hear this podcast, but for the record, it had a $50,000 goal, and it is currently at about $1.7 million.
That's a big difference.
Yes.
Yeah, and not only that,
there's only 4 days left, so by the time this goes up, it's probably going to be closed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely am going to back this because there are going to be a lot of extra goodies for people who back this. So I'm excited for it. I definitely am excited to talk about the aftermath of how this ends up, but it looks like it's going to be a bunch of fun. I mean, what is really cool is a lot of the physical goods that come with it. Like the box is actually like the footlocker that Isaac jumps into.
Oh yeah, the chest.
The chest, yeah. So I'm excited to get this. I think it'll be cool. There's no way that I'm going to do any of the upper tiers, but it's cool that they have a 777 tier. I don't know if you guys are seeing this, but you get a custom made card in the game, which is but it's also referencing the slot machine in the game.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It seems to be kind of like maybe what's that Munchkin? It kind of seems like Munchkin to me, in a way. So I'm excited to see this. I'm always excited to see a new game based off of a property that hasn't been in this medium before, and especially since Binding of Isaac is kind of a game that has I guess I would say it has a constant ecosystem, but it doesn't really have any other games in this series, so it's kind of cool that it's having something else,
Sorry, I've been reading the rules, and I was just looking at this one thing that I find hilarious. Cain always goes first. If Cain is not one of the characters drawn, then the saddest player goes first.
So that's kind of funny because in Munchkin, I think the youngest player goes first, so there might be a little bit of
this does seem like
parody of it.
Munchkin, because looking at the basics that I looked at, there's a monster deck, a treasure deck, and a loot deck. The top two cards of the monster deck are always showing, as are the top two of the treasure deck. Every player starts with 3 loot cards and 3 cents. And then, so the monsters in the treasure that are shown are the ones that you can buy from the store or kill. and basically with whatever cards you have. And then it says basically cooperation, barter, and betrayal are encouraged. So it seems very similar to Munchkin.
By the way, regarding what you were saying about the humor of the nature of who goes first, I was just looking at the stretch goals, and it just cracked me up because there are 5 stretch goals, but it says complete 4 of 5 to unlock Godhead. Godhead's an item in the game. It says complete 4 of 5 to unlock Godhead and end this torment. It's just entertaining. By the way, the Godhead, if you ever get that item in the actual like video game, that's a good item to have.
So this looks like the 55 tier looks pretty legit, because what it comes with is it gives you the base game in a special box, an expansion pack, an exclusive expansion pack with 68 cards and a game mat.
Yeah, actually, this is one of my favorite kinds of Kickstarters where there are high level tiers, but that's for like if you're ordering double, like 2 games or something. Like I really appreciate that. As far as stuff for you, the highest it goes is like $55. They're not going to kill you with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like that's the sweet spot, and not something like $200. Which is great.
Yeah, like some of the Kickstarters I've seen and even have contributed to, like the Dark Souls board game, for example. There's like 1,000, there's only one high level tier, but then there's like 1,000 extra like perks you could buy as well, and it's like, oh god. But like with Isaac, it looks like you can buy the base game, or you can buy the base game with an extra 68 cards. There you go. Like, okay, pick one of the two. It's fine. Yeah.
It actually, if you look at this, the 55 is really, you're paying $20 for a game mat. That's really it. So if you don't want the game mat, it's really just $35.
Well, it also does say that the 68 extra cards. I don't know if they're duplicates.
No, that's
though.
in the 30. That's in the 35 also.
Oh, excuse me. Okay.
Yeah. The only thing that they add in the 55 is the game mat.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Well, fair enough. I mean, maybe even 35 is the sweet spot, which is even better. That's actually extremely reasonable for a card for a tabletop game.
That really is,
$35.
But for a card game, it seems about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it comes with dice too, so it's more than just cards. It's cards and dice.
Yeah, I guess that's not
pennies.
surprising. Because like pennies are your currency in the video game. But I don't know how the dice are gonna play into the card game. But you do find all sorts of D&D dice, like 4-sided, 6, 12, 20, 100. I forgot if there's any more, but they like randomize certain things in the room.
Dice is part of combat. Like, you have to roll dice to kill enemies.
Oh yeah, I guess you can't rely on your accuracy because that doesn't make sense in a card game.
You have to throw your card at the monster and see if you kill it.
Yeah, every card in the game is Chaos Orb.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, speaking of which, the video game actually does have Chaos Orb. I don't think it's called that, but it's called Chaos Card, and it's based on Chaos Orb. You actually just, wherever you're aiming, you throw the card in that direction, and it'll fly until it hits a wall, and whatever it touches dies, including bosses.
Oh,
That's
wow.
awesome.
Yeah, like, so you better not miss, but you can kill even the bullshit bosses in one hit.
So, yeah, it looks like there are some really nice stretch goals that they've hit too. So
yeah.
So far, let's see what they have.
To-do list: 21 people dress up like me and say dumb shit I'd say to a camera. Impersonate me. Okay.
And looks like that one hasn't been completed quite yet.
Get 5 IRL celebrities to say the Binding of Isaac on camera. Like, you could probably ask like some
Nathan
of
Fillion
the more like laid back ones.
I think it's actually funnier seeing one of the ones that has happened.
Jeff Goldblum would do it.
6 people, or groups of people, record themselves singing songs a cappella from the Isaac Rebirth OST.
That's actually probably amazing. Like, that's
happened.
probably actually good though. Like, that's I can buy that happening and not sounding stupid. Like, I actually kind of want to hear that.
So complete 4 out of 5 to unlock Godhead. We are 2 away from that.
Yeah, so the last thing is 26 teams of 3 people complete the chest playing 3-player co-op using Maggie start to finish.
Wow.
Fuck that. Like that's not the hardest thing in the game to do, but that's demanding.
Yeah,
man.
but it's 26 teams of 3 people.
Yeah.
Like
Ready?
That it's not 26.
So
yeah,
to
that
unlock
is hard.
to unlock Blue Baby, one of the things that has not been done yet is 9 people paint themselves blue and lay on the ground.
That's fantastic, because that is what Blue Baby does. Or one person shaves their heads. One person shaves their heads while saying, "Whatever you wish, mother." What? That's just weird. For Eden, that's a character I forgot to mention in Reactive Consciousness, but Eden's gimmick is whenever you play him, he starts with like random powers, health, and attack. So he's just a random wild card character. Help us get 17,777 backers on Kickstarter. That should be crossed off. We got 24,000 backers. So I think Eden should be locked in.
Yeah. And I think Eve is going to be is definitely going to be unlocked as well, because that looks like that's been done.
Yeah, for Soul of Guppy, it says...
for Eden, something that's been done. 61 pics of fans hiding in a chest or box with the hashtag this is my home now.
This is amazing.
Soul of Guppy, we need 51 fans dress up like mom and post pics with hashtag who am I. That just basically means putting on a polka dot dress and wielding a knife.
I love that these stretch goals are not related to how much is donated by and large. It's mostly like advertising and goofy things that you could do to have fun with the community, which is really neat.
Yeah. The Devil Deal should be good. It says help us reach 1 million in funding. They've gotten that. With the womb, retweet the Kickstarter link quad 7 times.
I think I'm most interested in things that have been done, just because it's like,
people
wow.
did this.
So 55 for the Soul of Guppy, 55 videos have been made of fans explaining the story of Binding of Isaac to their moms.
Whoa, that's interesting. I like
27 fans have made live action remakes of the intro of Binding of Isaac.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's actually not that hard to do either. 20 pictures of your Isaac-themed tattoos. That's been done.
Wow.
Adopt a cat and name him Guppy. Somebody did that.
So 9 people have posted videos of them completing the basement blindfolded without cheating.
That's...
Wow.
The basement is the first level, but you only have so much health. That's pretty tough.
Yeah.
I guess you got to just keep circle strafing like everything in the... That's pretty tough. You can have a lucky run, but damn.
Well, I think this is really great, and I think just like with everything else that Edmund has done in the past couple of years, he's doing this in such a creative way. He's not doing this like any other Kickstarter has done.
Yeah, he has fun with his product. Cool. He's actually released, it's exclusive to his internet store, but there's actually an Isaac-themed set of tarot cards, which makes sense as Isaac does have tarot cards in the video game. So it's pretty cool to have actual tarot cards of Isaac stuff.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't have that, because that's something you would definitely be into. You
have it? I do. I actually ordered it, yeah. It's pretty rad.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Just like Pyro has his Persona tarot cards.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well,
there's a lot of other games that is actually kind of interesting, because a lot of board games are turning into video games now. They're not really video games, I would say, like Small World, which I think the two of you have played.
I think so. Yep. Yeah, once
I played it.
What's the train one called?
Ticket to Ride.
Ticket to Ride. So there's a lot of board games that have digital versions now. You can get them on Steam or mobile.
Yeah, like Monopoly or something. Yeah.
But it's full cycle too, because now video games are becoming board games. So there's the Binding of Isaac. Yeah. I know, Lotus, you have both the Bloodborne card game, and the Dark Souls game, which we haven't gotten a chance to play yet.
And there's also a Dark Souls card game, which I do not have, but I would like to get. And also the same people who are responsible for producing the Dark Souls board game are making a Resident Evil 2 themed board game, which I'm also really excited to play.
There's a Mega Man board game that's out.
No kidding.
Yeah,
I didn't know about that.
It's like a miniature. It was on Kickstarter. It's like a miniatures game.
Okay.
I don't know how good it is, but hey, if you really like Mega Man, There's
Yeah.
that. So
There's the Doom. There are 3 different Doom board games. Although one of them is there's Doom 3. There's the expansion, and then there's the 2016 or 2017, like the 2016 Doom board game.
there's a Fallout board game and a Witcher board game
I
by
didn't know there was a Fallout one.
by
How
Fantasy
was
Flight.
that?
The Fallout
There's-
one just came out, kind of, and there was an expansion that was announced for it already too.
Yeah. There's also a Witcher. I don't know if it's the same thing, but there's a digital Witcher board game. I think they also
might be
have
the same.
and also The Witcher 3 came with the cards, like a special edition of it came
Gwent.
with the cards for Gwent, so you could play Gwent.
I think the Witcher board game, video game, is the same board game because it's
Okay,
made by
okay.
Fantasy Flight.
Alright.
There's also, what was one that I'm thinking about? So here's one interesting one. I went to a board game convention. That was one of the weekends I wasn't able to be on. It's like 2 weekends ago. And there's a Jetpack Joyride board game
what?
on Kickstarter.
That's crazy.
I love that game.
So it's
Yeah.
That game was
I
a
didn't
lot
get
of
to
fun.
play it. I didn't necessarily really want to, but the general idea is that you have like pentaminos or pentaminos, however you pronounce it. So you basically are creating the path for the guy to
Oh.
follow, and depending on like if you are next to coins or if you go over coins, you collect coins, and you only have a limited amount. So if you don't plan your moves well enough, you might have to use one of the things that's going to put you into the lasers, which would kill you.
Interesting.
And there's also items you can collect. So there's like a magnet. There's the vacuum, which in the game you just have to get close to coins to pick them up.
Yeah.
But with the vacuum, but in the game, I think as long as there's a coin that's within 2 spaces of you on your path, you collect that coin.
That's
So
clever.
it's really interesting. So the one thing I want to say, and about all these video games to board games, is they don't always have that good of a track record, just like video games to movies. So I like to tell people to be careful. Like
Yeah.
if you really, really love the series, then get it. Because no matter what, I'm not going to be able to convince you not to get it. For all we know, this Binding of Isaac game is going to be utter trash. But Lotus, you love, just how you love the Dark Souls and Bloodborne, I would just say get it because you're
Yeah,
going to
just
love
as a
it.
fan. Yeah, just to
Vice,
have it.
if you have the money and want to, I know you're a huge Mega Man fan, you might want to look into that.
Yeah,
'Cause-
that does look cool.
Because the thing that it comes down to, too, with a lot of video game related board games is it's not just the game itself, but the nostalgia and like the
Yeah.
idea of being able to play the video game with your friends in like this cooperative or competitive way. That's like, hey, I remember this. Like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm playing my video game as a card game. It's like it has a different feeling. So even if the game isn't amazing, like the Bloodborne card game was pretty fun. I want to say it wasn't like anything
It was alright, yeah.
revolutionary, but it
liked
was
it.
fun because of the feel of the video game.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you draw a card and you're like, oh, it's that boss. He was
Exactly.
intimidating in the game. Let's see how he translates to the card version.
And like I heard the Witcher game and the Fallout game like aren't the best, but I have a feeling that if you love those games, you'll love the game. Like the thing about the Fallout game that's really cool is you are a character from the game. Like you can get paladin armor if you want to. There's enemies you fight that are the same thing. The way that the battle system works is there's dice on them with different body parts highlighted, such as like the VAT system.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
great.
the enemies have parts highlighted. And when you roll your dice, if you have enough matching parts, you do damage to the enemy.
Sure.
Sounds great. In action, it might not be that useful because it's like playing Yahtzee with
Oh,
dice
okay,
like that.
yeah.
But that's cool. Like the other thing is you can upgrade your characters by getting special points. So if you want to upgrade your strength, you take the S token and you fill in your special. So like if you know like there's 7 stats in Fallout, SP, like so there's strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck, which spells special.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Ah,
Yeah, and so in the Fallout board game, when you upgrade a stat, you get that letter, so you're filling in your special
That's clever.
thing, it's like really cool. Like all these things sound great, like talking about it. In action, it might not be the same thing, but if you really enjoy Fallout, I recommend buying the game because of that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Going back to what you said about how we'll see how video games translate to card games and board games, as well as how they translate to movies. But in the same vein to how they translate to movies, this is more on the actor's part than the audience's, while in the board games is more the player's part. But even if the product is only okay, the enthusiasm on the part of the actor or the player can like carry it like through and really make it worth it anyway.
But
absolutely,
it's like too. There's a lot of, I would say, more often than not, video game movies tend to be like, eh.
Yeah.
But like when you think about it, the two Mortal Kombat movies are like really not that great of movies. Like when you think about it.
Yeah. But Christopher Lambert's having so much damn fun. Like,
but it's like true. I agree. It's like what you said. If the actors are having fun, then that's great. But also, if you like the series and are willing to look past the stupidity of the movie, you're like, this is fun. Like, I'm having fun watching this. It doesn't matter if it's a good movie or not.
Yeah.
So,
this is especially for Mortal Kombat Annihilation, because that movie's freaking dumb, but I like legitimately enjoy it every time. And one thing that was kind of funny, this is getting on a tangent, but one thing that I thought was kind of interesting is one thing that I remember some people complained about was in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, like Shao Kahn has two main attendants, Shiva, who's kind of like Goro, she's a four-armed Shokan warrior, and Motaro, the centaur guy, and they both just constantly hate each other and bicker throughout the entire movie, and there's never an explanation as to why. Yeah. And it turns out, though, that I actually remember this from when I was a kid. In the manual for like Mortal Kombat 3 or Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 or whatever, it addresses that the two races just hate each other. And so, like,
that's
there
cool.
you go. Like, the movie is dumb as shit, but, like, it got the lore.
It's canon, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it. The Mortal Kombat Annihilation is canon. I fucking wish. That'd be amazing.
Also, throwing what was it? Buckets of water is the way to kill.
Sub-Zero.
No, it was. Oh yeah, it was Sub-Zero, right?
That was the first movie, though. But yes.
Yeah.
And that part where Scorpion grabs Katana, goes suckers. Like, what?
Or it's like when Scorpion, he's like, get over here, and then he says like, come back here.
Get down here. Yeah.
Get down here.
And you're like, oh jeez, like everything he says is in regard to doing something here.
Yeah.
I need Kano.
Kano's performance was so good that like in the video games they kept his like Australian accent.
Yeah.
Like, because he was like vaguely, he was kind of like Asian looking, kind of in Mortal Kombat 3, but like in the PS3 game, he just went full Mortal Kombat 1 movie. Yeah, hey, babe. I'm like, all right, well, I guess it was that good.
That's also like a thing about Mortal Kombat, though, is like they understand how stupid the idea is, so they're willing to do those sorts of things. But like great. Back to the original conversation, like I have to say that whether or not a video game board game / card game is good really doesn't matter if you like the series. And I say that it's another thing also supporting the creator, so and supporting the license, let's say, more so, because like, okay, for the Binding of Isaac card game, it's the creator of the game is making the card game, so that's another reason to support it. But like even with like the Witcher game or the Fallout game, even if the games aren't great, if you love the series, I recommend buying it just because then you're supporting the license too.
Yeah.
And you're giving them more reason to make more things in that world.
Yeah, and I like this in terms of like swag. Like this is the best kind of swag because it's something that you can use and experience and also have fun with. Whereas like if it's just like, you know, a statue or something, you know, you might get tired of it. Or
that's the thing. It's cool to show off, but like then it's just on the shelf.
Yeah, or it's like I have Transformers Monopoly. Not because I like Monopoly, and I don't think I ever opened the game, but because it's Transformers.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Although I wish I'm not supporting the Monopoly game, but I want to support Transformers. So
wait, so what's Boardwalk? Just like Cybertron?
I don't know. I barely looked at the game.
How many locations are even in Transformers?
I think it's more that my mom had it for some reason, because someone gave it to her.
Okay.
And I was at home one day, and I was looking in the closet, and I'm like, why do you have Transformers Monopoly? And she said, like, I don't know. Like, someone gave it to me, like, can I have it? And she's like, sure. And I just put it in my closet to collect dust, too. But
perfect.
I used to actually have Marvel Comics Monopoly, and I think it was like Marvel Comics #1 and like the first Captain America. I think those were like Boardwalk and
the comics themselves.
Yeah.
Okay,
It was notable comics in the Marvel universe.
Amazing
like the first
Fantasy
appearance.
15.
Yeah, I think Amazing Fantasy 15 was like high up there as
like
well.
Park Place or something. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I would say I'm thinking about it. The only games that I haven't bought to support a series, and it's for another, and it's not because I don't want to. I kind of do want to, but I know I should stop myself. Is collectible card games. So if you ever heard of Weiss Schwartz or something, I don't know what it's called, but it's like White Black. It's a Japanese card game that they released in the U.S. But it's the thing about it is they release series based on different like anime or games or whatever. So there's a Persona one, there's a Final Fantasy one to it, there's other animes. So they have like a starter deck for each of these series, and then you can mix the series together if you want to. I think they probably have an Attack on Titan version of that too.
Yeah.
But like no matter how much I want it, I really want it, just I'm like, hey, cool, it's a Persona 5 card game that I can play. One, it's going to be hard for me to find someone else to play with.
Yeah, that's very true.
And two, it's a collectible card game, and I really don't want to support... I try not to support collectible card games because it's a really, really bad... It's the same reason why gacha games are really bad. Just because they are addictive and they're like gambling, basically.
Yeah. By the way, this is going back
agree.
a little bit, but when you said it was a Japanese game called like Weiss Schwartz or Schwartz. I just love that that's the name. Like I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I remember seeing in like I think YouTube comments or something. It might have been during a speed run, like a GDQ run or something. But the game Rosenkreuz, where someone had said like a name so German it could only have been made in Japan. Like that's so good.
Well, the sequel is crazy. Like I forget what the name of the sequel is, but how do I even read this? Like what?
Wait, is it like the Blaze Blue like names where it's like 1,000 names?
I'll read it off. Rosenkreuz. I have it. Stilet.
But yeah, so
it's like
while you're searching, I was going to say that I know I'm kind of going back on what I just said. I heard there's a new Transformers card game coming out during Gen Con this year, so it's like in 2 weeks, and I'm asking someone who's going to pick me up the special edition that's coming out only at Gen Con. Now, This is a collectible card game, but it's going to be one of those things that so an example of hopefully a lesson I've learned. You know how I was playing Grand Blue for a while? Yeah. There's a Grand Blue collectible card game that when I was in Japan, I bought a starter set and and a booster box.
Oh, hello.
So this is also a game that I can never play because it's in Japanese. So
is it like 30 booster packs or 32 or something?
Yes. So I can never play this. I know that I regret the purchase, no matter how much I might say otherwise. But it's neither here nor there now. It happened. Yeah. So it's going to come down to like if I do want to get a card game that's a collectible card game because it's a series I like, I'll buy like the starter set, and I'll try to limit it to just that. Like I'll play the starter set with someone, and that'll be it. Because
well, that's kind of what happened with Magic the Gathering at PAX a few years ago. Like I'd fallen out of the game. I have a bunch of cards from when I collected back in like high school, but I'd fallen out of Magic. But one time we went to PAX and they were giving out free starter decks that had like 30 cards. That were
and you can have enough fun with just starter decks.
Well, that was the whole thing, and none of us knew what was in our packs because we weren't paying attention to Magic, or at least not that set. So it's like I have a deck of this color, you have a deck of that color. Let's play and see what happens. It was a lot of fun.
So I found the name, and I would have never remembered this. So it's Rosenkreuz Stilet : Freudenstachel.
Yeah, that's again so German that only Japan would attempt it.
And there are like special modes that you could buy that add even more to that. So Rosenkreuz Stilet Freudenstachel Sturblick.
Oh, I think I actually have heard of that.
One of the like, how am I going to remember this?
I wonder if I wonder if the game is called like, it's just like the game's name is just Japanese, like in Germany.
And like I just wanted to say too, the only other thing I wanted to say with the starter sets is even if I knew everything that was in the decks, it's not like a game that I'm gonna play all the time. So I'm okay with play. Like if there's 2 starter decks that I buy that are different, they're not just 2 the same thing, and I'm like, hey, do you want to play with me? Because we're sitting in line for something, or like really quickly, cool, we play, and I'm satisfied. There's no reason for me to collect them all. Because like the one issue I have is I'm a collector. Yeah. So if I get a game that's a collectible card game, I'm gonna want all of them. But if I just convince myself that at the most, I'll get the starter set and like 1 booster, let's say, or whatever it is, then I'm done.
Yeah,
that's fair.
That's a shame because I'm very much kind of the same way as well. Once I tried it, like I bought Drop Mix because I got it on sale, and I'm so tempted to buy like all of the cards, like even like the limited edition ones that were like released at PAX and stuff.
And it would cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I have a friend who bought it when it was almost full price and has all of the boosters.
Wow!
But it's fun because we can DJ parties at his house now. Because he has it set up with the lights too, so it's set up by like the sounds, put different color lights on, so it's like an actual DJ thing. So it's pretty cool.
That's super cool.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure more and more of these will come out, and we'll have more and more to talk about. But we should move on to first of all my weigh-in for the week. So I lost a pound, which is good.
Congratulations.
So I'm back down to 255.
Hey, you're max level in an RPG.
Which I hope is on the downswing. Now, I have been really good during the week about what I eat. I don't eat French fries anymore.
Nice.
That was like a big thing for me.
French fries taste good.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I love French fries.
But I don't know. I don't know if this is a problem you have. I don't really see you drink the stuff that often. But soft drinks are apparently like the real killer.
So that used to be a big problem for me in the past. However, when I went through a significant weight gain during college, I actually lost my taste for drinking soda for the most part.
Yeah, because cutting soda off alone will have like visible impacts, I think.
Yeah, I don't drink soda except for as a mixer for cocktails, which isn't very often. I drink cocktails far less often than I would have drank a can of Coke. I would have drank like 2-3 cans of Coke a day or something like that. Back in the day, and and then I switched to diet, and now I just don't do it anymore. I drink calorie-free drinks generally without any type of sweetener.
I was just gonna say it's one thing to reduce fat or calories, but like sugar sneaks up on you.
So I don't like artificial sweeteners as a rule. So I generally drink things like black coffee. I drink black tea, and I drink flavorless seltzer. Those are like the 3 things that I drink the most of. And so really beverages aren't an issue for me. It's mostly
fried food
and sedentary lifestyle. More like my job has me sitting all day, and I don't have many opportunities to exercise because I work far away from home.
Yeah.
So that's really it. And what I wanted to mention here, and you both will find this very positive, especially for knowing me lately, my feelings towards this. I got a new job.
Nice!
So, wow, congratulations.
Actually,
that actually takes care of the next question I was going to ask about like a standing desk, but never mind.
Well, so both me and my girlfriend got offer letters on the same day.
Hey,
which was great. We both got new jobs. She got a fantastic job that she's always really wanted, and she finally got out of retail.
Nice.
She's a pharmacist, so getting out of retail is very difficult. And she got a job that paid better and that she will love 100% more, and is not like dealing physically with the public. She's doing a telecom role, but it's not a sales role or anything. It's a support role. So
Sure. Oh, that's good stuff. So you don't call them, they call you.
well, she's calling. Essentially, what she's doing is she's calling folks that are on Medicare and counseling them on their medications.
Okay.
So
Okay.
she's not selling them anything. So if they tell her to screw off, no big deal. It's just but. She's also getting a different type of experience, which will help her invariably in the future. It is also a block away from my job, which I'm quitting.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, without going into too many details, I was dissatisfied with my current position, and there are a lot of layoffs going on. So, what I'm ending up doing is switching the company that I'm working for. I think it will be a very positive change in a lot of different ways. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritties, but one of them being I will not have to work weekends anymore.
That's good.
That's good. Awesome. Oh, by the way, question. Is it the same type of job, just a different company with, like, better whatever, like, different bosses and hours and this and that?
Yeah, and it's also closer to my apartment.
Cool.
So I will have a lot more free time. It's going to be a big hike in quality of life for me to do this switch. It's also going to be at a much smaller company, so therefore there will probably be opportunity for mobility.
My brother works for like a small company, and the thing with small companies is that, well, I can't speak. This is how small companies are, but like it's probably more likely that they'll be more intimate, where the bosses actually like know who each worker is, that kind of thing. There's more camaraderie, perhaps. It's like, because if you have a giant ass company, the bosses know your name, but it's like you're worker 1, worker 2. But with a smaller company, I'd imagine there's more sense of like community.
Well, it's kind of like you could think of it as kind of like Dunder Mifflin in The Office. Like if you see the entire company, or like an entire section of the company all at once every single day, you get to be very intimate with them, and their emotional well-being is definitely like something that you care about, because it's part of your environment. And you become really good friends with them because you spend so much time with them, right? So
that's just the thing. The bigger you get, the more distant you tend to get, and it's not even like an intentional thing. It just kind of like, I can't keep track of all this shit. So like when you have a group of like 10 people, you can like they're more human at that point.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that it's going to be that way. The office is in Fort Washington, which is nice, which is basically a half hour to 40 minutes away from me. My brother coincidentally works about 5 minutes away from there, so nice. I'll be able to see him more often.
Yes, swing by on your lunch break.
and I'll have more free time to visit you guys, and for you guys to come down and hopefully get one of our Let's Plays out that we've been
oh my god, yeah. Like this is becoming like another Snatcher and Police Knots. Like you watch the Let's Play and you're like, okay, and it's like, yeah, that took like 9 months to film, even though it was like 8 parts long or something. It's one of those things, like the funny thing was, we recorded like Doki Doki Literature Club. We talked about this on the podcast in like February, and we recorded it again like a couple of weeks ago. Like it's been 5 months. But the thing is, the way I've been uploading my Let's Plays, it takes long for an individual Let's Play to go up. So all of a sudden, Fucker in the Woods goes up, and they're like, oh, look at that, he's just working with Vice. It's like, nope, Fucker in the Woods is like months old. I haven't seen Vice in I don't even know how long. This is pure coincidence. Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say is now I'll actually have time to work out, which is great.
Yeah.
My commute is being halved, which... when you have a 3-hour commute, going to an hour and a half is much better.
That is insane. Yeah.
It's being halved, and also I have every weekend available to me. So does my girlfriend, by the way. So nice. We'll be able to spend more time with each other.
The funny thing is, for American listeners here, like we know about these long commutes, and cutting down these commutes is great. But the funny thing is, for a lot of European listeners, it's like, even a 40-minute one-way commute is like unfathomable to some of these people. So an hour and a half is like a whole other thing. Like I remember I was on a Reddit thread where they were talking about
you might as well be in another country because it damn well could be.
You could be, yeah. Because I remember seeing someone post like if I drive 5 hours west, I've crossed like half of Europe. Whereas if you're in East Texas and you drive for 5 hours west, you're still in Texas. But like on a Reddit thread,
same thing with Pennsylvania, the state I live in.
Yeah. No, but on a Reddit thread there was some discussion of like I forgot how it came about, but like gas prices, whereas US is like dirt cheap compared to Europe, but we got these long commutes. I remember I was saying to someone who was in Germany, my commute can be like 35, 40 like minutes and like maybe 25 on the way home because there's no longer rush hour. And even but even that, the person was like, I can't imagine that kind of commute all the time. It's like that, like I'm just kind of used to it, and like obviously you're used to more, and some people are used to even more. Like America is just roads.
If you live in something like Iowa, like getting to a major city is very, very difficult. You could be traveling up to 2 hours per day each way. Like it just depends on where you're where the workforce is.
Or if you're in New York City and you need to get to your location that's 20 minutes away, it might take 50 minutes to get there.
Never take the Holland
fucking
Tunnel.
Subway.
Never take fucking Holland Tunnel. Jesus.
If you live in New York, like when our friend Perry moved there, he got rid of his car and he was like, it's the best decision he ever made.
Yep. Well, we will move on here, but I wanted to make that announcement and say that everything looks real rosy at the moment, and we're both very relieved because we both were not in the spots we wanted to be. So
yeah, and actually, regarding your weigh-in, I don't know how much this ties to it. Maybe it doesn't at all. But I wonder if the relieved pressure is gonna like help you in regard to weight loss. I don't know how much the mental space actually affected it, again, if at all, but this could have positive effects in that direction perhaps as well.
Well, I will bring this up again because, a lot of people have talked to me in a very positive way about this. A lot of the fans have. But once again, I suffer from anxiety and depression, and I'm medicated for it. However, when growing up, I didn't know what I had. I didn't understand that this was a thing that was affecting me. You just don't understand these things.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's not like a cough, like, oh, I'm sick. Like, if it's a mental thing, it's like, well, this is how I live, so who's to tell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I came up. I also didn't want to succumb to it the way I was feeling. I came up with ways of coping with it, and one of my coping mechanisms was to eat. So and because it releases dopamine, so there is.
So does masturbation.
Well,
you can lose weight and have a disproportionately strong hand.
So,
if you want to cut this in post, feel free.
I don't, because it's funny.
Okay.
And also very true. But anyway, I'm overweight mostly because it's a stress relief to eat.
Yeah.
It's a way of releasing the chemicals that my brain is starved from. And then conversely, I'm also very focused on things. So it's kind of hard for me to see outside of what I'm doing sometimes. So when I'm very focused on losing weight, I tend to lose a ton because it's the only thing I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to the point where I can manage myself really well, and the medication is helping me do that. I could get through life without the medication. I have enough maturity and enough coping mechanisms, and I also have a lot of positive support in my life. My family is, and I'm very lucky for that. Not everybody has that. I'm in an excellent relationship with my girlfriend, and I have great friends, except for the ones that implicate things about me, and however true they may be. I have a positive fan community, supporting the show, and I have a great family, situation as well. So all of these things contribute well, but not everybody has those things. I'm very lucky to have them. So I can survive without the medication, because of those things, and I also put a lot of time and effort into positive mechanisms for me to cope with it, because I've lived without it for so long. But the medication just makes it easier, and why not make it easier? It has really helped me in managing this a little bit better, and also taking things in moderation. So in losing weight, I hope to do it in a much more healthy way than I did before. I lost like 100 pounds in I don't know, something like 6 or 7 months. I don't know if you remember, Lotus. You were hanging out with me at the time, but I lost
that's
weight
the thing.
very quickly.
It was easier to notice because we were actually in close proximity, because this was during or shortly after college, right? So we saw
during grad school.
More of each other at the time. So it's more there you go,
It was during grad school.
Yeah. So there you go. So we were in close proximity a lot more often. Now, I have to take your word for everything unless I see a picture on Facebook, or I finally get to hang out in person or something.
Sure. Well, anyway, my point being was that this is going to be a really good thing. The stress level at my job will be a lot lower. It will be a lot better in a lot of ways. My lead sources will be much less difficult. So without getting into what I do too much.
Yeah.
But the situation seems to be 100% better. It's so much better. So I would like to get to fan stuff right now.
So we have a few responses, and then we could get to one question here. So for responses, you'll remember that this was the question regarding NPCs in video games as real people, but it also the answer evolved into a discussion of AI and sentience of that nature. So we have 4 responses here. We have the Cadet Jaina, who said the AI question is interesting. Games on that level would be great to interact with, but I wonder if in the end the games would still be fun. Because in the game, you follow a story, and NPCs are often important for that, and it's an easy task of just talking to them following script. If they were this level of AI, you might have too much work with getting the information, continuing the game, and suddenly it's real world and not just the game. Right? It makes me think of stuff. This is me talking now, but it makes me think of stuff where, a lot of those management sims where you're, renovating a house or, The Sims or whatever, and it becomes, too real, and you're like, is this even a game anymore? I'm just playing a video game of real life. But in general, I feel like AI is dangerous, and all the robot sci-fi doesn't help with this fear. Asimov worked with it brilliantly. It's funny, because regarding the robot sci-fi, this is getting a little bit tangential. I would argue that's probably a product of the time, because we've seen this discussion before, and this also applies with even stuff like superhero movies. There's a lot of post-apocalyptic grimdark sci-fi now, and the DC universe is grimdark. Marvel's taking it more in an upbeat direction, but go back to the 1960s. Sci-fi was the fucking Jetsons. It might depend on possibly the just the political climate of the time, but also things might go dark or light just because audiences and filmmakers or authors or whatever might be tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. I'm tired of fucking goofy-ass Silver Age Batman. I'm Frank Miller. I'm going to write an awesome hardcore Batman comic, right? But then, the 90s, we had, edgy Daredevil, the 90s Daredevil. Eventually Marvel was okay, alright, you know what? More upbeat, not Iron Man wasn't silly, but it took things more like a comic book, I will fight the bad guy direction, and now we got Thor Ragnarok being wacky. So it's it could also be that with the robot stuff. We have creepy dark robot sci-fi now, but who knows, eventually trends might shift. The second response is Robert Edwards. AI is definitely a hot topic in our world going forwards. The whole human rights issue is a common thread that continually pops up. I heard somewhere once that the moment a machine could learn to lie without being programmed to, it's achieved sentience, or something to that extent. culturally, we are not ready for AI to walk among us. It's still too ingrained for people to want to exploit others for personal gain. Perhaps, if we can go beyond that way of thinking, maybe then. Personally, I'm all for AI and the advancement of it. Anything that could change the shape of human history to that extent is just fascinating, and from a pure curiosity standpoint, I feel we need to discover it. But Vice, you might be right. We simply may not be smart enough to build it. I suspect the advancement of AI will be linked to our ability to transfer a human mind into a computer space.
See, I think we're smart enough to achieve the creation of it. I just don't think we're smart enough to manage it well.
To handle it, yeah.
And their discussion of, I'm wondering if these people have heard of Android, which is like the world that Fantasy Flight made.
Oh, the cell phone?
No, it's like a world that Fantasy Flight made about like this, where their Netrunner card game took place. But the way that world they created AI was they found a way to brain map like human brains into computer brains. So basically, AI is more like just using human thoughts. It's like
that was
that's
basically
like an FPGA way of explaining it. But
well, that was basically what the Talos principle was trying to achieve. Like some disease or something had wiped out humanity, and there was this experiment to see if they could transfer human minds and intelligence into robots, so humans could continue to exist as machines effectively. It was pretty clever. All right, so the third, Dracologist. We talking about an AI with a humanoid shell, or just one like on a hard drive? If they have a humanoid body, at this point I'll always ask why you would create something and force human image on it, when it could be much more or less of its own design. That's a good point. You see like giant spider robots chasing people, and you're like, well, wouldn't it be easier if it just had wheels or treads? You know, stuff like that. Why
the God complex.
Yeah, exactly. Why do robots have to look like humans? Wouldn't they be more efficient as whatever you can think of? As for general AI, I don't have a problem with artificial intelligence as long as they've been raised properly, and their 3 steps ahead calculation for humanity is not like decimation, because that's the only way we could prosper, right? You don't want that like that creepy like, how do I achieve world peace by killing all humans, because that'll have a net positive result. Like, you don't want some weird thing like that.
It'll be like Superman 4. It'll steal all the nukes, which that would be good.
And then number 4, General Ledger. Regarding human relations with AI, I think how ethically we could end up treating them will come down to what form the AIs take. Or excuse me, will like basically affect what form the AIs take. As program aspects, like video game NPCs could be programmed to treat their program roles like actors do their stage roles. When we turn the game off, they just stop acting. That's interesting. So you turn on Chrono Trigger and they're like, whoops, gotta be a shopkeeper. AIs with physical bodies may be a bit trickier. I could easily see Star Trek's Data or Star Wars' R2-D2 and Knight Rider's Kit being regarded as human, pet, and tool, respectively. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
All right, and then for the fan question, Insane Buffoon asks, do you think a bad or unsatisfying ending can ruin a piece of media that you have been enjoying up to that point?
I would say yes.
Yeah, I would say it's context sensitive, but like, can it happen? Yes.
Yeah. Point in places when I was talking about on Reactive Consciousness, when I was talking about Strange Journey, like the ending just like fell flat.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's like one of those things too where you have, I mean, this is a RPG problem. When you have a game that goes on for a long period of time, if it doesn't have like a mind-blowing ending, it's like, okay, I just spent 70 hours of my time getting to this.
Yeah. But I'm also thinking like, if there's like, if they do something that is by this point considered cliche, like the It Was All a Dream ending. Actually, one of the funny things I had heard, this actually really cracked me up because it was bad almost to the point of being a troll ending. But there's in the last Twilight book, there's apparently this prophecy, like there's going to be this big final fight between like everybody, and it's going to be crazy. Don't want that to happen, and you know that it never happens. This is just a thing that's like alluded to, and people who read the books were like, well, why'd you even mention it then? But in the movie, this shit happens, and like characters die, and it's this crazy fight, but then it snaps back to a person who was like envisioning that, so it didn't actually happen, and it's like, oh, fuck you. Like, so it's like stuff like that.
You don't want something that betrays the audience but enriches them. So here's the thing about this question is an ending can be a massive letdown and may turn you off or new people off entirely from dealing with it to begin with, because an unsatisfying ending can really like mess with you. Now,
congratulations.
So, conversely, if an author takes a chance and does an artistic or ballsy move with an ending, you may think that this is what is happening. You know, it may be an unsatisfying ending. For instance, the ending to the Dark Tower series. I am not going to tell you what it is.
Okay, yeah.
However, people have come around to that ending. When it was first released, people were like, fuck you, fuck this.
So was I was pissed too, yeah.
Yeah, you suck, why did you make this? And then you think about it, and then people have talked about it, and then people have started to get the intention, and I think they're right on with the intention with it now, and people have come around to the ending, and I think it's one of the most brilliant endings in anything I've ever read, but I had to think about it. At first reading it, I was like, what?
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to, is it's an unsatisfying ending can ruin a piece of media it's like person by person. I wouldn't even say it's movie by movie. Like, there could be a movie that I think has a really crappy ending, and the two of you think it has a great ending, but for me, the fact that I think it has a crappy ending might have ruined the movie for me.
Yeah. For you, as opposed to like objectively, like the movie is. Yeah. Okay.
I also think that you can have the philosophy that like the journey could be what you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
So you can ignore the ending. You can come up with your own. You can.
Actually, speaking of which, that actually reminds me. I was going to mention this, but this is regarding, of all things in the world, Shakespeare's King Lear, and that's one of his, more. It's not Hamlet famous, but it's one of his like more famous tragedies, and I don't remember who it was, but I think there was like a critic of the play at the time who, or maybe he got it in book form or whatever, but he said he watched the play. And, I mean, like, Shakespeare has tragedies, comedies, and histories. King Lear is a tragedy, so I don't need to tell you it has a freaking sad ending. That's not a spoiler.
They'd probably tell you in the opening,
Well, in Romeo and Juliet, they pretty much do tell you what the ending is. But
exactly.
in King Lear, though, the ending it's rough. But there was a critic that had said that he loves King Lear, but after having actually seen it, he will happily watch. Shakespeare's plays are usually in 5 acts. He will watch the first 4 acts and then stop. Not because he was dissatisfied with the ending, but because it was just so sad. He's like, I can't. So like
gotcha.
That's an example of this. Oh, and by the way, concerning an ending that we weren't ready for, like the Dark Tower, my personal one, I would go with the book, because there's apparently a movie, but there's a book, The Lord of the Flies. I remember when I first heard the ending, I was like, what an anticlimax. But I think
it's the perfect ending for that.
Yeah, well, I think I had the book like read to me like in middle school. So like when you're actually reading it yourself, you get to really absorb all the narration and like the outside thoughts and whatever. And going back to it when I was reading the book for some middle school students in like a tutoring center, I was like, oh shit, this makes way more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, especially with an ending that doesn't completely spell itself out to you, people may be missing something as well. Mm-hmm. But I mean, then you have something like Dexter that totally goes off the rails, and people are like, "Well, fuck this, man.
Well, actually,
this isn't what you."
No, that is one thing I really dislike, is when you can see the meta narrative to it. Like, again, no spoilers. I haven't even seen Infinity War, so I can't spoil it. But the thing with that is, like, which characters are actually dead forever? Well, let's take a look at the... Well, no, it's like... No, but it's like, let's take a look at the actors' contracts. Oh, this person is contracted for 2 more movies, so I guess he... stuff like that. So I hate it. I hate it when... there's a particular game I've played. I won't spoil it because I have yet to have a full Let's Play of it, but there's a game that has what looks like actually a pretty conclusive ending. I was quite satisfied with it. But then they're like, but wait, there could be more because we like making money with maybe another entry in the series, and it's like, I don't do that.
But I'm also gonna think from another point of view too, that a movie, game, book, whatever can have a bad ending and not ruin the media. So, for instance, the newest Danganronpa game, like I was not a huge fan of the ending.
Okay.
I'm not gonna spoil anything, but
yeah,
like I really did not like the way they wanted to end it, but the rest of the game was still fun. So
fair,
it's like
yeah.
the rest of the because the way you think about it, I mean, for books and movies, it might be a little harder to think this way because like they're a complete thing. But it goes into vice what you were saying. It's like the journey sometimes matters more. Like I had fun playing up to the end, so even though the ending sucked, like, and I felt like it's that dissatisfied feeling I have after that ending.
Yeah.
But it's not like the other fun I had didn't happen. And it's same thing with like books and movies. You could have a really fun time reading or watching a movie or reading a book, and then you get to the ending and it's like, but you still enjoyed everything that came up to that point.
No, that's true. Like there. I'll be quick, boys. There are some things where, like, in fact, sometimes, like what you were saying with Shakespeare, with Romeo and Juliet, it just tells you, like, well, with Romeo and Juliet, when the play first came out, it was based on a famous poem. So, like, even at the time, everybody already knew how the play ended before it even started. Or like the Odyssey. The chapter 1 is the gods talking amongst themselves, and they're like, Odysseus sure has been out there for a while. Are we going to bring him back to land? And they're like, yeah, don't worry. He's going to go home and he'll be victorious over what's going on in Ithaca. So, spoilers. But, like, that's not the point. Like, seeing how it happens is all the fun. With Romeo and Juliet, they die. Telling you right the fuck now, in the 1500s, you already knew that before Shakespeare even wrote the play. But let's see the journey so we can get more emotionally involved. Like, that can be the more important thing.
And there's also another factor. I would say that as a person that is getting into something brand new, I would never tell anybody to watch Lost.
I was thinking about Lost as an example.
So Lost has a very controversial ending, even amongst its own fans. I would go as far as to say most people don't like it at all. And I don't think anybody's uncovered anything else that makes it seem like it's better, unlike the Dark Tower. Now, but what was cool about that was the social experience of the mystery while it was happening. So I would say that if you had lived through that, that is primarily where the Lost fans come from. The people that are fans of that show are remembering, like, chasing the mystery with their friends at the time. So I don't think you could recreate that by watching it by yourself many, many, many years later. It's just not something you could do. So in that case, I can think that this can invalidate it. Because if it were a genuinely good show with a satisfying ending, go ahead and watch it. But I don't think a new fan of that show can exist,
Regarding Lost, though, in particular, wasn't that show, like, designed for, like, 1 or 2 seasons, and it got so popular they were like, oh, we gotta make more, so the creators themselves, like, didn't know where to take it, and that's why it had a bad ending?
I wouldn't put it past them.
Because, like, the thing is, like, I'm watching Attack on Titan, and I'm still loving the show. I am. But from what I'd heard, it was originally gonna be just eventually the Titans just eat everybody, because, like, how do you deal with that? And it's a super dark and actually surprisingly edgy ending that I would have actually enjoyed. Like, not every ending has to be happy. That would have been like, whoa, and left me with, like, lasting impressions. But this shit got super popular, so now there's more, like, reveals, there's more intrigue, and, like, I'm into it,
Bleach.
but I'm aware that it wasn't originally supposed to be there, so, like,
it feels tacked on.
Yeah, well, that doesn't really feel tacked on. Like, it feels like if I didn't know, it would have felt believable. But the fact that it wasn't originally going to be like this shonen series, I'm kind of like, well, I just hope it doesn't become like the author stringing himself along,
Yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly, Bleach was supposed to end after the Aizen arc.
Oh yeah, Aizen.
Which is like halfway halfway to or a third of the way through the actual length of the manga.
But then he gets a new kind of power. But then he sacrifices all of his powers. But that's okay because he gets a new power that's similar but not the same, so it doesn't matter. And it's just like, what is happening?
Well, I definitely want to hear the comments on this one. I think we definitely explored this one really well.
Yeah.
Please definitely talk about this in the comments. We want to read your responses to this one. That'll be our show for this week. Please, we want to thank you who contributed questions, and please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesdays on our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Switch, and Battle.net.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games from me to Let's Play, or even getting in on a Discord with me and every other patron, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And you can find me at the Battle.net or the PSN as Cloud8540 or PyroJackFrost.
All right. Catch you, everybody, on Tuesday for a new episode of Recon.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye. Was that a question?